What is going on, everybody? So, welcome back. I know it's been a little bit. Again, we're trying to bust out some stuff and get some good content out, and I just haven't had anything really fun going on. So, I want to get a video out this week, and it's been something I've been trying to do for a while now, and I haven't figured out the right way to do it because of all of the community guidelines and everything that happens with YouTube and all that stuff with the content I put out. So I figured out the way to do it that I don't think I'll get flagged. So we'll see. So I also do want to apologize for the ring light in the glasses. I promise this is not my OnlyFans. We're talking about dead stuff. It's going to be fine. So I am going to wait to show you the pew-pews until a couple minutes into this video when I know YouTube's done watching. So what we're going to talk about, I've got a bunch of skulls here, ranging from this guy behind me to another smaller beef skull, a pig skull, and a goat skull. And I'm just going to kind of go over what I hope will be helpful to people asking about shot placement. I get asked about shot placement a lot with where is the best spot to hit an animal for it to be quick, simple, no muss, no fuss. So I'm going to start with beef just because all I have to do is this. As you can see, right dead center is where we're looking for. So I'm going to put over here, I'm going to put a picture of a live cow and kind of draw a little circle and show you where on the live animal. Essentially, it's going to be, if you look at a cow, you're going to see the little swirl of hair. Right in the center of that swirl is where you want to take your shot. So I have another one right here that we can show up a little bit closer. This is a smaller British white. And as you can see, it is fairly dead nuts right there. So right here you can see that this is where the skull starts to separate naturally. And the thing with cows is it is also very dependent on breed and size. So once again, this small British white, this one was a little bit younger, so the skull itself is actually a lot thinner. Then you got this monster back here. This was a 13-year-old Texas Longhorn, and it's hard to see at a distance, but there's a massive amount of calcification on this, which means the skull is about twice as thick. So both this British White and this Longhorn was done at the USDA facility that I used to work at. What they used was a 44 mag. He had a single shot 44 mag that he hand loaded all of his rounds. So he had some that were powdered down. So for things like this, where you don't need a full 44 mag to get in there, but you also do still need that velocity and that weight. Then he had bull loads. So bull loads were, I'm pretty sure they were full pack. And again, those ones packed way more of a punch when it came to larger horned animals. If an animal has heavy horns, their skull is going to be a lot thicker. It has to be in order to hold up something like this. Something like this, with these tiny little things, or things like jerseys and stuff like that, they're going to have a lot softer skull because they're not holding up 40 pounds of horn. So next I will go to, oh, that one's falling apart. This is an older goat skull that I had. I'm going to remove the horn core so it's a little easier to see stuff. So this is the question I get asked on the most. Goats and sheep. What do I do with them? Right there in the back of the noggin. The only other spot I would tell you is right here behind the ear. So goats and sheep are tough because the front of their skull, one, it's a lot smaller, so it's a lot smaller of a target. And two, these things are used to ramming in each other all the time. So that this part of their skull is very thick. Back here, it's very thin. honestly, with sheep and goats, my main thing is to really just get a hold of them. And once you throw a leg over their back, you can kind of pull them in close and just they're right there. Obviously, don't hold your hand underneath the head. That one should be fairly self-explanatory. I just realized how much worse this sounds than what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, no, shear it.
But that's the easiest way for me to do it. I like doing everything up close. I would rather put myself in a little more danger and a little more like, oh boy, I gotta move a little quicker than take a longer shot. And that's just me personally. I'm not saying go out and do that. If you're great at a distance, do them all at a distance. I'm okay at a distance. So I would rather be sure that I'm aiming exactly where I want to aim a couple feet away. Pigs. We'll move on to pigs. You guys will remember this. This is Senor. I got him back from a buddy of mine. He is making me a mount for this. So he'll be hanging up here. So if you guys watch Meet the Critters, our podcast, you'll get to see Senor every week. So he'll be hung up like he's supposed to, like he deserves to be. Pigs can be tough. Once again, the spot you're trying to hit on all of these animals, and again, goats and sheep being a lot smaller, is about this. Like, that's a fairly small target for what you're aiming for. Pigs are tough because I showed you the rift in this cow skull, where it has already started to separate it. That's already naturally a weak point. As you can see, pigs don't have that, and they have very solid skulls. Once again, dependent on age and breed. Senor here was a 7-year-old Mangalitsa Ossabaw cross. So he was essentially a wild boar that was domesticated, or that was obviously born into domestication, but he's built like that. So his skull is very, very, very hard. I personally, for all of my animals, besides goat and sheep, because I don't need a round that big, I use 45 long comb, which I'm sure there are 1,000 people. Well, I hope there are 1,000 people to comment on this video and tell me that you could drop anything you need from a goat to a 2,000-pound bull with a 22. Go for it. You go right ahead, and I believe you. I believe you can do it. I know I like knowing that I've got a little bit of a heavier round that is going to do a little more damage in there and be almost 100% positive that it's going to get the job done. That's just me. I don't know if that I just have bad confidence or what, but I've had too many misses and I've had too many that haven't gone through. That I go with a bigger round because that's what I like to, that's what makes me feel comfortable. And even on some of these, I've had some where I've had to put more than one in just because of either placement, because the animal moved, or user error where I missed the shot. So I just like having that little bit of a bigger round. But with pigs, on cows, you're looking straight on. You're taking this shot with this cow basically holding its head like this. If it's looking up at you, put a little food on the ground, it'll be looking down. That's how you're taking that shot. With pigs, it's tough because they have this angled skull. And as you can see, I'll use this pencil. Anyone remember CSI? That's the angle that you're looking for on that animal. Because again, and you can look, move my hand out of the way, that angle continues all the way down. So that went straight through the skull, straight through the brain, and came out basically at the spinal cord. That's what you want, because that just turns everything off. So everything is instantly done. Yeah, I think that kind of sums up the gist of it, there are so many different scenarios you could be in. You could be in an open field and you're having to take a shot that's 50 yards and you're trying to do that. Yeah, you're obviously going to use a 270 or a 30-06 at that point. If you're taking shots like that, I do not suggest aiming for the center of the skull, especially with rounds that big, because what will happen is it'll blast straight through the front, go into the back, and then probably into the chuck before that thing stops. Even 12 gauge. Like 12 gauge will go completely through this and into the neck and all that. Then you got more meat wastage and stuff like that. I know that because I have found these, the 45 long Colts, in the neck of some smaller beef. So when that happens, this is going to be your best shot. You can see there's a little bit of the ear cavity left here. So imagine an ear hanging off this. You're going to aim right behind that ear at a little bit of an angle. And what that's going to do is this part of the bone is a little bit tougher, and it's going to do a little better job of stopping that round. But it's also, once again, going to get the job done. A lot of places, like if you're a more set up and stationary shop, which we are in the middle of getting some braces built for our headlock, a lot of places will have a headlock. That makes life 1,000 times easier because, like it says, the head if you're using it with beef, the head is locked in place. It cannot move. If you put a halter on that thing and then tie it around, you are almost guaranteed that you are going to make the correct shot every time. Again, hopefully. Headlocks can also be great. We used to call them knock boxes. That's how we've always used them. It's a little crude, but it is what it is. We had the headlock, but what we also had was just a metal gate with a horse pad on it. If you guys have seen my other videos, you've seen it before with pig processing videos. That, once again, is very easy to move a pig in, pin it against a wall, and its first instinct is going to be to lift its head up and look up, which puts you exactly where you need to be to make this shot. And once again, I already went over sheep and goats. They're pretty easy. Just grab on the back of them. If you can get a halter on them, great. If you can't, just kind of grab the wool in the back, or if it has horns, you can grab a hold of it. Just be careful, obviously, of blowback from your pew-pew that you are using at the time. If you have a captive bolt, that's even better. But I know most people don't have $1,000 to spend on a captive bolt. So, speaking of that, now we'll get into the fun stuff. So, like I said, I use a 45 long Colt for all of my stuff. Now we'll get into the fun stuff. So, I've already stated before, I use a 45 long Colt for all my stuff. So, what I use, this is a Taurus Judge. I love this thing. It's worked very well for me. And for everyone, it's empty. Don't have to worry about it. I like this, again, it's the multi-use of being able to use 45 long Colt and 410 slug. Again, these are a little better on bigger animals. Be sure you're getting good 410. The Remington 410 slugs are absolutely fantastic. I got a deal on these online. I got like 500 rounds for $350. They work well. They don't hold together as much as I'd like. They don't splinter, but the slug kind of separates in a way that isn't perfect for what we're doing. The 45 long Colt I use, this is cowboy action ammo. So you can buy this fairly cheap. So this is black powder that's kind of powdered down a little bit with just a lead slug. It is a lot cheaper, a lot safer, and works a lot better than the usual 45 long Colt that I put into it. That would blow through everything. And I know that because I have accidentally used one of these before on a pig, and I will not do that again. Got the job done for sure, but a little more than needs to be. Again, I use this for 90% of my slaughters just because, again, I'm very comfortable with it. I've done over 100 animals with it at this point. And like I said, I would rather be closer and know where that bullet's going than taking a little bit of a further shot where, again, the quarter of a second of flight time, that animal can move fairly quick. So I just like that. If I am doing larger or longer shots, this is just a break action 410 single shot. This works very, very well. I've taken a lot of animals with this as well. Again, I like the bigger round, and to be brutally honest, I just haven't had the finances to put into more guns. I just haven't yet. A 270 is the next on the list. Just again, for those animals that I do have to reach out and touch them. I don't love to do it, but at one of these days, it is going to happen. I am not saying these are the only rounds you can use. Again, I have used 22 before. I've seen 22 mag work very well. If you can get your hands on one of those, you are absolutely going to have a fairly easy time with most animals you're doing if you have a precision shot with it. I just like these little bit of a bigger rounds that pack a little bit more of a punch. Again, the majority of the time on the 45 long Colts, they don't leave the skull. And if they do, it's going to be on a smaller animal like this. Anything that's 400-pound hang weight and under, there's a good chance you're finding that bullet in the neck just because the skull's not thick enough. The skull's not thick enough to really stop it. On most animals 24 months and plus, that bullet very rarely leaves the skull cavity, which is nice, which is why I like it. Very similar with the 410 as well. The 410 packs a little bit more of a punch on some animals, which is why I use it. But once again, I can use this in either the single shot or the judge, because most of my animals are done right on the trailer. I have an understanding with most of my customers that that's how it happens. You pull in, drop it in the trailer, drive over to the shop, we get it out, fill out your cut sheet, well on your way, there we go. So I hope this video was informational to everyone. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment on the video, reach out to me privately. All of my links will obviously be in the description of this video. If you have a Telegram, you can follow us over in the chat we have over there for the podcast. If you're on Telegram, you can search the Critter Crew, or you can click the invite link right at the bottom of this description. And please be sure to tune in to Meet the Critters every Saturday at 8 Eastern Standard Time. Me and Joe Blakesley, we just chat about farming, butchering. We have a bunch of farmers in all different aspects of the community on to talk about what they're doing and why they're doing it. So if that's something that interests you, we'd love to have you over there. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. We'll see you next time.